The air hung heavy in the underground archives of the Department of Defense. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting eerie shadows across rows of metal filing cabinets. The smell of aged paper and dust permeated every corner, a sensory reminder of secrets long buried beneath layers of classification and time. J.D. Vance stood motionless at the entrance, his breath visible in the unusually cold air of the climate-controlled facility. Margaret Chen, the facility's head archivist, guided him forward with reluctant steps. "Senator Vance," she spoke softly, "I must remind you that while your clearance grants you access to this section, some files remain restricted even to those with your authority." "I understand," Vance replied, scanning the labels, "but I didn't come all this way just to be turned back at the final door." "What exactly are you looking for, Senator?" "Project Horizon," Vance replied, watching her face carefully. "Files from 1983 to 1987. The change was subtle, a slight stiffening of her shoulders, a momentary pause in her breathing, but Vance caught it immediately. "That's, highly classified material, Senator." "Margaret," Vance interrupted, his voice firm, "3 weeks ago, I received an anonymous package. Inside was a photograph and a note. The truth about Horizon is in the archives. Section 47B prime. I wouldn't be here if I didn't have reason to believe this is important. If you're finding this investigation intriguing, make sure to subscribe to our channel right now. You won't want to miss what happens next as we uncover secrets that have been buried for decades." Chen eventually led him to a cabinet marked 47B and unlocked the drawer with trembling hands. "Senator, what you're about to see, there's a reason these files were sealed. Once you open this door, there's no going back. Some doors need to be opened, no matter what's behind them." She handed him a thick manila folder stamped "Classified" and "Project Horizon." As her footsteps faded, Vance placed the folder on a nearby table and opened it. The first page contained only a brief statement. "Project Horizon, experimental genetic modification program aimed at creating enhanced human capabilities for covert operations. 1983 to 1987. Discontinued by executive order." Vance's heart raced as he turned to the next page. Photographs of laboratory facilities, medical equipment, and he felt his blood run cold. Rows of hospital beds occupied by children. Project Horizon hadn't been just any government program. It had been an attempt to create enhanced operatives using genetic modification on children, many listed as orphans or wards of the state. His fingers trembled as he reached the list of test subjects. 27 names, each with a code designation and status report. Most were marked terminated or deceased, but 7 were labeled active with a note: subjects integrated into civilian population, surveillance ongoing. Among the notes was a detail that made Vance's breath catch. The genetic modifications had given these children unique capabilities: enhanced intelligence, accelerated healing, heightened sensory perception, but also unexpected side effects, most notably distinctive neural patterns detectable only through specialized equipment. It clicked. The recent government initiative he'd been asked to support, the National Security Neural Mapping Act, wasn't about detecting mental health issues as claimed. It was about finding these 7 individuals. As if answering his unspoken question, a slip of paper fell from between the pages. "Fairview Cemetery. Tomorrow, midnight. Come alone." The next evening, as midnight approached, Vance stood among weathered gravestones. A light rain had begun to fall, droplets glistening under the cemetery's sparse lighting. The air smelled of wet earth and stone, the silence broken only by the gentle patter of rain. "Senator Vance!" The voice came from behind him. An elderly man stood there, his face partially obscured by the shadow of an umbrella, but his sharp, intelligent eyes were unmistakable. "Who are you?" Vance demanded. "Dr. William Hayes. I was the lead scientist on Project Horizon." Vance felt a surge of anger. "You experimented on children." Hayes flinched visibly. "I did, and I've spent every day since trying to make amends." He stepped closer. "But there's something you don't understand. Project Horizon wasn't discontinued because of ethical concerns. It was discontinued because it worked." The rain fell harder, drumming against the umbrella above them. "The 7 survivors," Hayes continued, developed abilities beyond anything we'd anticipated. The government feared what they might become, but couldn't bring themselves to eliminate American citizens, especially ones they'd created. So they chose integration and surveillance instead. Why tell me this now? Because someone has reactivated the project. They're using the original research with modern technology, and they're planning to use the Neural Mapping Act to identify and capture the original subjects. Who? A private military contractor called Sentinel Solutions. They've convinced certain officials that these enhanced individuals pose a national security threat. Hayes handed Vance a photograph of a young boy, perhaps 8 years old. Subject 17, Hayes said quietly. Codename Falcon. Born with a rare genetic disorder that should have killed him before his 5th birthday. Project Horizon saved him, then enhanced him. Vance stared at the photograph, confusion evident in his expression. The last intelligence report indicated he grew up to become a Marine, then an author, and eventually, a politician, Vance finished, his voice barely audible over the rain. Hayes nodded solemnly. You were one of them, Senator. Subject 17 inches. The world seemed to tilt beneath Vance's feet. Memories flashed through his mind, his unusual resilience, his accelerated learning abilities that had taken him from a troubled childhood to Yale Law School, the strange medical anomalies doctors had never been able to explain. Why do you think you've always felt different? Hayes asked gently. It wasn't just determination. It was written into your DNA. In the following days, Vance began a dangerous search for the other subjects. With help from his chief of staff, Marcus, he located Dr. Elena Reyes, subject 22, codename Echo, a neuroscientist researching unusual neural patterns, unknowingly studying herself. These patterns, Elena explained after Vance revealed the truth, showing him brain scans in her lab. They're not static. They're evolving. Whatever they did to us, it's dynamic, responsive to environment and experience. Just as she finished speaking, Vance's burner phone vibrated with a warning from Marcus. Sentinel moving. Get out now. They barely escaped as tactical teams swarmed the hospital. With the help of a wealthy tech entrepreneur named Sophia Chen, they established a secure base and began developing a scanner to locate the other enhanced individuals. One by one, they found them. Professor Thomas Wright, subject 19, Cipher, a cryptographer with extraordinary pattern recognition. Diana Lopez, subject 24, Pulse, an electrical engineer who could sense electromagnetic fields. Michael Chen, subject 13, Nexus, a diplomatic negotiator with exceptional empathic abilities. And Dr. James Ward, subject 31, Meridian, a surgeon with enhanced proprioception. Only subject 28, codename Spectre, remained elusive, the one whose abilities had shown the greatest departure from baseline human capabilities. As their group assembled at Sophia's estate, they analyzed their collective abilities while debating their next move. But before they could decide, perimeter alarms blared. Sentinel found us, Diana announced, monitoring security feeds. Multiple teams approaching. Vance made a split-second decision. Everyone else, escape. I'll buy you time. Despite objections, he convinced Elena to administer an experimental enhancement protocol she'd developed, a serum to temporarily amplify his abilities. As the others escaped through a hidden tunnel, Vance moved through the darkened estate with heightened senses, disrupting the tactical team systematically. But as the enhancement began to fade, he confronted their leader in the main hall. Senator Vance, the man said respectfully, or should I say, Subject 17, I've been looking forward to meeting you. You have me at a disadvantage. Adrian Blake, director of Sentinel Solutions and former overseer of Project Horizon. Vance felt anger surge through him. You're responsible for what was done to us. Blake shook his head. I didn't start the project, Senator. I ended it. When I saw what we had created, what you and the others were becoming, I understood the ethical implications. But I also understood the potential. Vance's vision blurred, his enhanced state faltering. No one should control it. We're not property. No, Blake agreed, surprising him. You're not. The Neural Mapping Act wasn't about capturing you. It was about protecting you, keeping your identity secret while we prepared the way. Prepared what way? Vance demanded, fighting to stay conscious. A controlled revelation. A world that understands enhanced humans exist, but doesn't fear them. As Vance collapsed from the enhancement's side effects, Blake caught him. Your friends have escaped. Good. They'll continue the work. But you, Senator, you're coming with me. There's something you need to see. When Vance regained consciousness, he found himself in a state-of-the-art medical facility with mountain views. He wasn't restrained, a curious detail that immediately put him on alert. The door opened, and Blake entered with a woman in a lab coat whose face struck Vance with immediate recognition. Subject 28, Vance whispered. Spectre. Dr. Olivia Mercer now, she replied with a slight smile. But yes, once that was my designation. They led him through a complex far larger than he'd initially assumed. Labs, living quarters, training areas. What shocked him were the people, dozens of them, of various ages, all engaged in different activities. The next generation, Olivia explained. Children born to the original 7 subjects. These young people inherited enhanced abilities, some identical to their parents, others entirely new. My children? Vance asked, staggered by the implication. Blake nodded. Your son has shown signs of enhanced cognitive processing. Your daughter exhibits resilience beyond normal parameters. They're fine, living their normal lives. We've only been monitoring, not interfering. This facility exists to understand what we've become, Olivia continued, and to prepare for a world where enhanced humans are a reality. You want me to be your spokesman, Vance realized, to ease the world into accepting enhanced humans. We want you to help us find the right path forward, Blake corrected, one that protects both enhanced individuals and the public. I need to speak to my colleagues, Vance said finally. All of them. Together we decide our future. Not you, not Sentinel, not the government. Us. 3 days later, all 7 original subjects gathered at the facility. They had come voluntarily after Vance reached out through secure channels. They've built something remarkable here, Wright acknowledged. The research alone is groundbreaking. Built on lies and manipulation, Diana countered. The question isn't what they've done, Michael interjected. It's what we do now. Elena leaned forward. The modifications, they're not just genetic, they're evolving at a quantum level. The second generation isn't just enhanced. They're approaching abilities that could be described as superhuman, Wright finished. What we're seeing in these children defies conventional science. So what do we do, Diana asked. Become government puppets, weapons, laboratory specimens? No, Vance said firmly. We become architects. We take control of the narrative, the research, the implementation. We ensure that enhanced humans are integrated ethically, transparently, with full rights and protections. 1 week later, Senator J.D. Vance stood before Congress, the sealed government files from Project Horizon laid open on the podium. Behind him sat the 6 other original subjects, united in purpose. Distinguished colleagues, Vance began, I come before you today not just as a senator, but as a living testament to a chapter of American history that has remained hidden for too long. He outlined the plan they had developed, a regulatory framework for research into human enhancement, ethical guidelines for supporting enhanced individuals, and a transparent oversight committee. The world is changing, Vance concluded. The question is not whether we will face a future with enhanced human capabilities, but how we will navigate that future, with fear and secrecy or with wisdom and transparency. The choice is ours to make. 3 months later, the Enhanced Human Integration Act passed through Congress. The facility once operated by Sentinel was transferred to a new independent organization, the Horizon Foundation, directed jointly by the 7 originals. On the day the foundation officially opened its doors, Vance stood with Elena overlooking the mountains, watching as enhanced and non-enhanced researchers worked side by side. Do you think we made the right choice? Elena asked quietly. I think we made the only choice that honored both what was done to us and what we might become. Not victims, not weapons, architects of our own future. Elena took his hand. A future that might be very different from anything we imagined. But one we'll shape together. Vance replied, watching as sunset painted the mountains in gold and crimson. A new horizon for a world forever changed by the truth he had uncovered in those sealed government files. The contents had indeed changed everything, not by revealing a conspiracy as he might once have expected, but by opening a door to human potential that could never again be closed.